Good evening, everyone. We're here talking about creating comic. I'm Christian Pedersen. They call me CP. I'm an editor with Zrock, but these are the people who actually understand how to make comic books. I'm going to just start at the end with Joel here, and then we will go down the line, and then we'll get into this thing. So, Joel.
My name is Joe Elad. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Magna Comics, booth 1211. We are a brand new boutique comic publisher representing 100% creator-owned passion projects. So we get to work with creators like Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, and Steve Orlando, among many others. So got my start in comics. X-Men 200 is the first book I ever read. Started retailing in the 90s. Worked for IDW in the 2010s, and a bunch of us IDW people decided to start Magna. So I've worn a lot of hats in this industry. So excited to hear your questions.
Hey everyone, my name is Brock Smith. I'm the owner and senior writer of Zrock Comics. I've been writing for about 5-6 years now. I've loved comics as long as I can remember. Just like any other nerd, I went and made my own as a kid, and now here we are. So I'm very honored and happy to be here, part of this community and part of this team, and I really truly hope that you have a good night.
Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis. I'm the owner of Nowhere Games and Comics. I've been retailing since 1998. In that time period, I've worked as a writer, as a flatter, sales for various publishing, including Dogu and Dark Horse, as well as consulting with various publishers.
Hey, what's up? I'm Zen from H.C.M.P, Hi-Con Media. We are a graphic design company that helps people make their comic books. I'm also the staff leader at H.C.M.P Comics, and most recently I was editor-in-chief at Artist Elite Comics. So I've also worn a lot of hats, so any questions you guys have, we can answer them on many different levels.
Well, my name is Jeromy DeChant. I was the marketing and sales director at Heavy Metal Publishing for 3.5 years. I got started with comics and sort of marketing in general, doing freelance social media marketing for comic book creators and voice actors. And I currently work at Modern Fanatic, which is a full-service marketing agency. We do everything from PR to live events. We help you get on panels and get at Comic-Con. We also help you get press coverage, and we manage social media accounts. And yeah, I think that's the bulk of everything. Yeah, I've worked with everybody from, we currently have a book coming out with Dark Horse, and I've worked with Archie Comics, Toys R Us, Sandstorm Comics out of the UAE, internationally. So a bunch of different groups and publishers. If it's geeky, I've probably worked near or on it marketing-wise.
Hi, I'm the other Zen Snowden, and I'm the senior artist of Zrock Comics, and I've been drawing since I could pick up a pencil.
So I'll start out with a hypothetical case study. So let's say that I just finished writing the world's greatest comic book. Mean Girls meets RoboCop. Now, I know it's going to be a masterpiece, because it will. So let's just throw this over, and maybe Joel, you could start, and then Mathias, and then Jeromy chip in. How am I going to get the world to read this magnum opus that I have, created?
Well, my first question would be, do you have an artist for this project?
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's all done. I wrote it, I drew it, I stole from Zen and lettered it myself. Now what do I do with it?
You have to decide whether you're going to self-publish or take it to a publisher. In today's day and age, I would recommend self-publishing. You are your brand, you are your platform. With digital publishing and print-on-demand services, I think that the cost has come down enough that you can make your own book. And in many cases, you have the chance to get discovered by a publisher that could take you to the next level. Definitely by going to conventions, social media presence, always talk about your books, publicize your snippets of the finished product, and get the conversation going. And when you build a fan base, that's the best time to go to a publisher, because publishers represent a lot of titles, and so they can't give everybody white glove treatment. So no one will fight for your book more than you. So be the advocate for your book. Don't be overbearing about it, talk about your book and talk about yourself as a creator. But definitely get people, if you're excited about your book, your fans will get excited about your book. And by building that following, then publishers will go, oh, this is maybe something we'll pick up and give it a higher platform to reach out to a bigger audience. But yeah, I definitely would start, Jeff Smith started peddling Bone in 1991. Scholastic picked him up and he's a global sensation. So it was harder than just that, but he went to cons and buy my book, and he pressed the flesh before there was Facebook or Twitter. So it can be done. Mike Mignola with Hellboy, Frank Miller with Sin City. You can come out of nowhere and be passionate about a project and build your fan base and take it further.
So speaking of coming out of nowhere, Mathias, what are your thoughts?
Well, no, yeah, no, what a great segue.
I know, you're welcome.
So
My invoice is in the mail.
So at that point, you've gone down the self-publishing route, it sounds like, or you're going that way to hopefully eventually find a publisher. The big thing is now, how do you get people to get your book? And I am going to steal from an incredible creator I was talking to down on the show floor just about an hour ago, who said a book doesn't market itself, no matter how good it is. So if you are self-publishing, there's always things like Kickstarter that assist, but you need to get in front of people's eyes. You need to have them help. And I truly, coming from retailer, believe that retailers are going to be your allies on good material. They want it to sell because they make money on that. They want, comics to do well because they make money on that. And when money, drives you, it drives you. So reaching out to retailers is a great thing. They're not only people who know how to sell a comic because it's their living, but they're happy to sell your comic if it'll bring them profit. So I always strongly suggest, first off, be nice to everyone in the industry. This industry recycles itself amazingly, so there is no escaping it. Be nice to everyone, but if you reach out to a store, talk to the lower staff, because as the owner or manager, I'm off doing panels, I'm off buying, things, I'm having meetings with publishers. It is often my lowest level staff, some of which are in this audience, that are going to do the majority of selling directly to the customer base. And if they like your book, they're going to do well. But then, of course, you're going to want to reach out to the owner or manager to make it an agreement, of, hey, I would love it if you carried my book in your store. And one big thing I will always stress there is provide us with an available copy to read. It doesn't have to be a physical copy. Have a PDF available. Be willing to share it. Be willing to take criticism. I actually talked to some wonderful people on a panel yesterday, and one of the big things I pointed out is your book will do better in a store and in general if it has a barcode on there. And some people don't realize that now and then, that there is great value to those little snippets we don't think about. Well, your objective is put together the best story in the world. Make sure the art looks amazing. Make sure that the production quality is solid, the book feels great, and you don't think about the little things like, oh yeah, somebody doesn't need to scan in a barcode to know what price it is in the store filled with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of comics. I can't memorize the price of everything or what my inventory is. So talk to the retailers, be polite to them, try to provide them with the stuff they need to sell your book, and then see if they'd be willing to carry it. And even if they're not, be respectful, because maybe the next time they will be. And the other one is take the criticism, because sometimes they can vastly improve your pre-existing already fabulous story and project with something you didn't think about.
Yeah, that was great. I want to echo what Joel and Mathias said. One of the most important things when you are getting started on any sort of product in marketing is awareness. Social media is one of the greatest tools. I know we don't all love it, but it is a necessary tool for building your brand and getting your name out there. The other thing, and we talked about this a lot at our thing yesterday, is go to artist alleys, be at a table, get books in hand. Raise that awareness, not only as you as a creator, but you as a brand, and that's gonna get books moved. If you are going the self-publishing route and you're doing it through like Zoop or Kickstarter, there are tools there. You just have to understand that at the end of the day, you're gonna have to handle the distribution. You're gonna have to make sure you are keeping the promises you set with people. That's very important, because like Mathias said, the relationships are great. If you hand somebody bad barcodes or bad SKUs that scan for another item in their store, they are going to hate you. and I know because I've done that. Well, I didn't do that. A client did that. It was a very fun time. So always think about that relationship and that awareness. There are right and wrong ways to do social media as well. Make sure you are collaborating with, to make a comic book is a team of people. Bring in all of that team. Bring in their audiences with your awareness. Collaborate with them. Make sure this is a group and team effort, because it's kind of one of those all ships rises kind of situations. You're going to need that support. And if you go through like Kickstarter, your first Kickstarter may succeed, may not succeed, but you're going to get names and you're going to get lists. You build off of that. You keep building off of what you have. The other thing is being active on these platforms is going to give you awareness. Like, I know TikTok is controversial right now, but it is the best algorithm out right now. Instagram is a pain in the butt, but it is one of the more friendlier algorithms, especially for comics, which is a visual media. You gotta think about these tools and you gotta be using them, and you gotta be using them regularly. Because if you aren't using them regularly, people forget about you. You do a post 1 month, and then a month later, the people who are following you see another post, and then you're gonna get a big dip in people unfollowing you, because they're suddenly remembering they were following you and they've lost interest. So you need to be consistent, and awareness is just such a big part of the getting started on a product.
I got a little ahead of myself, and with my Mean Girls RoboCop hybrid, I don't have an artist or a colorist or a letterer. So Zen and Zen, you can both answer this in whichever order you would appreciate. How would you guys suggest I go about finding someone to help me with my really badass script?
Well, I don't kind of have an answer for that because how my writer found me, we worked in the same place. So it's kind of a bit of a scavenger hunt in terms of finding artists, but social media exists, so that's a good place to start.
So this would be my shameless plug for myself right here.
You hired
Because this is what High Concept Media Properties is all about, helping you, finish your comic book. There's a lot of steps, not necessarily just the artist or the writer or the colorist or the letterer. There's a lot of steps after that involved. So if you just have a script, or you need help finding an artist, or you have an artist and you need to find a colorist, whatever you may need, you can just go to highconmedia.com. There's like a list on the production page of all the different services and available. And whatever holes you have in your project, I can help fill them for you.
Well, that's a good point, though. There is significantly more, even once you have the actual story done. Do you want to talk a little bit about the production that you deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. So for you guys making comics out there, there's a lot of things that are not thought about. So number one is an inside front cover. Like, I hate it when I open up a trade paperback or a comic and there's a white page on the inside front cover. Not only is it a waste of print, but it's also a chance for you to kind of set the branding of your book even before the comic starts. So if there's some art on that page, then you're already like, ooh, what's this about? So there's inside front covers that have people's credits that you need to have. There's back cover designs that might need to get done, depending on your book. In the back, you might want some pinups or some supplemental material, like about the creators, like a creator page with their info. So there's lots of little things that go into a comic. So remember that it's always in a multiple of 8 or 4. So if you have a 22-page story, you're going to need to fill those extra 2 pages to make it 24. So that's one of the things that I can do, is to make you an ad for the next issue or whatever it might be, to fill that to make it a 24-page comic. Logos, same thing. You need a logo. You need to get everything going. So that's a good first step. Also, is a logo.
One thing I wanted to add, actually Jeromy touched on it earlier, go to conventions and go to artist alleys. When you're looking for an artist, you get to see their portfolio quite literally on their table, and that's how partnerships sometimes are formed. A lot of publishers, they'll send their editors, including we're doing this tomorrow, we're going to Artist Alley to see what the new talent is and see what their books are. And sometimes we'll see the same people year after year and watch their careers grow, watch their artistic talents get more refined. And so a lot of editors are using Artist Alley to go out, and it's the old school way before the internet, to find a partner, find artistic partners, coloring partners, the Zen master of all trades, that type of thing. So conventions still play a role in helping to match up, and of course creators assemble, and the creator connections to help match up potential writers and artists to work with each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, because when I was at Heavy Metal, it was everybody's job to go through Artist Alley and headhunt for potential artists or cover artists or colorists, things like that. We built out rosters based on people we found in person or we found online through Instagram or social media. So yeah, going through Artist Alley is a good way to find somebody who matches your style. And you may find somebody who you work with where it's like, I can't have any other artist than this person because their art is so unique. And there's so many people that I would not have found if I wasn't walking through Artist Alley.
Speaking of Artist Alley, Dawn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sorry I'm late. If you guys didn't know, we are just chained to our desk, and they finally came around during feeding time to let me out. So I appreciate everybody who came, and my name is Don Nguyen. You can find me down at Artist Alley at E24, E's and Eddie 24. Some people know me from doing Inktober. I'm one of the few official Jake Parker Inktober projects. We did that in 2017, 2019. The book went for 3 days, #1 Amazon Kindle, top 100 in print over Star Wars, 2 Legend of Zelda books. Some people know me from Kickstarter. I've been a part of way too many Kickstarters, successful and delivered. That's the important part. I have my own Pablo the Gorilla, which did in 2019, working on #2 right now. Thank you. And 2-time Eisner winner, Dustin Nguyen did the cover for it. So shout out to Dustin, who's downstairs in Artist Alley as well. If you want to go say hi to him. And then some people know me from doing sketch cards for Marvel Upper Deck. And yeah, that's, I think, me in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me in this battle.
And Don brought donuts for everybody.
Anybody want some barbecue chips? All right. So gentleman who raises his hand in the back, feel free to come up later and grab some barbecue chips. I know that was an unsanctioned giveaway.
Oh, it's our giveaway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in trouble, not me.
Yeah. But to what you guys are also saying, just a shout out to Toucan Learning, which is a branch of San Diego Comic-Con CCI. They host a panel that happened yesterday, and I believe it might be happening tonight, the Comic Creator Connection panel. It's a great speed dating service where you get to meet artists if you're a writer, or writers if you're an artist, or colorists and letterers, anything in between. So look at, for a local show where they're doing events like that. So meetups like that are great. Or look for comic book creator collectives like the Sketchy Bug group based out of Los Angeles, this very own comic book shop, The Comic Bug, or Accidental Aliens based out in San Diego. Shout out to Scott Lost and that crew. So start your own if you need.
Did you say Creators Assemble already?
Oh yeah, Creators Assemble. Shout out to them. But yeah, it's such a great time with social media to connect with other people. So I just want to offer those avenues as well.
Well, I want to point out with social media, I mean, we've been seeing it from as far back as there was a well-known image creator in the early 2000s who found his artist by reaching out on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter. It's like, hey, I want to do a comic for Image, who wants to join me? To as recently as I want to say Magma has a book where they reached out via social media to get an artist.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so social media, whether you're a writer or artist, still has a major value in putting together comics.
So I'll address the audience now. I haven't got many questions from you. So just show of hands. How many of you have thought about writing a comic book? Okay, how many of you are interested in illustrating a comic book? Okay, all right. Just want to know how we're going to throw these questions. So we'll stick with the illustrators now. And so Don, I'm going to just toss this over to you since you were just talking anyway.
Okay. I don't mind.
We all, we know that it's really important that an artist find their voice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you've never illustrated a comic book, how do you find your voice?
The biggest piece of advice I could give to anybody wanting to make a comic is to make a comic. You're gonna mess up so many times, and you're gonna learn from that. That's really the only way to do it. That's the secret. Any panel that you attend, any book people are selling you, the only way to do it is to do it. And it's great to have references. There's libraries are free. You can borrow books. There's books to learn about making comics, like Scott McCloud's, Understand Comics. DC has a whole series of how to draw comics, how to write a comic book, how to letter a comic. So there's resources out there like that. But yeah, it's just about trying to do it, messing up and trying again, and just keep doing it until you make a book. And just do it one panel at a time. do it one page at a time. You don't have to create a magnum opus from the jump. Just do little things to get started and collaborate, which is ultimately, I feel like, comics.
Okay, Zen at the end. What are your thoughts on that, developing your visual style?
I mean, kind of piggybacking off what Don said, a lot of it is just kind of, you just draw and just kind of go through it. You're gonna have good drawings, you're gonna have bad drawings, probably more bad drawings than good drawings, but a lot of it is just kind of expressing how you feel through artwork, and you kind of find a voice that way. And it's not something that's consistent, or constant, I should say. There's a lot of ups and downs when finding your voice in terms of like artwork.
I think for artists, there's also this weird moment where sometimes you create something you just don't like, and people love it, and you're just like, I don't see it. So you'll have those moments where you wake up, you can't draw a hand to save your life. So just mess up, who cares? I'm serious. Like I'm a great artist. I can't think of his name. A friend, like his name escapes me right now, but he sketches in Daniel Serra. He sketches in ballpoint. And I saw him do that once. I was like, hey, do you do all your sketches in ballpoint? He's like, yeah. I was like, why? He's like, because if you make a mistake, you can just work through it. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So why not work in something that's permanent, and like work your way through the permanence, and technically it's an impermanence because you're working through it, and learn from that. And I think, just as long as you make a mark as an artist, you're doing something. And I think that's great. It's progress.
Okay. Middle Zen. I'm now going to throw you a question. So there's a lot of elements of my new comic book that I don't really know how to do, like maybe my logo and the back cover art. Who should I talk to about that?
Well, I mean, I said come see me for that. But yeah, definitely you need to find a graphic designer of some sort to do that for you. Letterers, you can hire a letterer, but they don't necessarily do the logo for you. They don't necessarily do the back cover or the inside front cover for you. A lot of times they do, but that could be a whole separate thing. So find a separate person to do all those elements of that book for you.
Yeah, I would say also in the step, fail, and repeat cycle is when you start indie comics, I feel like you kind of pick up and do everything, or you learn how to do everything, and then you're going to find what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And when you figure out your weaknesses, hire somebody way better than you do. Can't stress that enough.
Okay, so I'll just throw this to everyone and jump into it with whoever has feedback on it. Now, obviously, we know my comic book is going to be successful. I pitched it to you. It's going to be great. I don't want to deal with all that Kickstarter nonsense. So what if I just want to go directly to the publisher and find someone to get it in the hands of retailers? What should I do?
Do you have a complete product at this point?
I mean, I will.
Then
Have a complete product at this point. So when I've worked with a lot of different publishers, and I've represented them throughout the years, and one of the things that always comes up is the pitching process and how do I pitch my book? How do I submit my book? A publisher is more likely to take you if you have a full product. That's not to say that they won't take you if you just have art, or if you just want to do covers, or if you're just pitching yourself as a letterer, or if a story. But in this example, you have a particular product, you have a book. If you come to a publisher with an artist, a letterer, a colorist, and a writer, and enough of a team that publisher can take that without filling in a ton of those gaps, then you're more likely to get picked up. It also shows that you are capable of creating the thing that you promised. So that's one of the pieces of advice that I would give, is kind of have all of that lined up ahead of time if you're going to approach a publisher, because that's one of the things that they're going to be looking for. And again, that's outside of pitching yourself as a cover artist or an interior artist and things like that. If you're pitching a book or a product, there needs to be enough there for a publisher to go, that's worth our investment.
yeah, I can't stress how important that is, what he's saying, to have a finished product. I know a lot of times it takes a lot of commitment to get to the very end, and we have a lot of different ideas, so you might want to do a whole bunch of things. But I really suggest starting something and finishing something and having a printed book. The power of just handing an editor a printed book over a business card or over some sort of proposal or email, like he was saying, that it shows that you've gone through all the steps, you've been able to outsource it or do it yourself in a way that it's done, and they'll appreciate that tremendously. Now, if you don't have that, you can pitch to publishers, a lot of them directly. It's not as common as it was before, but if you go to any publisher that you're interested in, you go to their website, they should have a submissions page. Again, not everybody. Make sure that your project is fit to their company. You don't want to, like, you know, pitch superheroes to a company that does predominantly, you know, horror books or something like that. But they have a pretty standard submission guidelines that goes across all these companies. It varies depending on which one, but in general, they want a completed cover and 5 completed pages, completely lettered, colored, all ready to go. The first 5 pages of your story, because then that way, if someone was reading it, they can tell if they're hooked on your story. If you can't hook somebody on your first, 5 pages, then, well, it's not gonna work.
Go back and try again.
So another thing I feel I should stress, so you've gotten your complete book, you're ready, and you want to take it to the publisher, you should also be aware of the publishers you're taking it to, because often the person that's going to accept it is not, right off the bat, may not be your best deal. They could be. But obviously there's a publisher that I'm not going to name names right now that's having a lot of stress with creators that they've taken on recently. And a huge part of that is knowing what you're signing up for, knowing what rights you're giving up, and understanding that sometimes to be published, you do have to give up rights. But you don't want to sell off Superman for $200 when it becomes a multi-billion-dollar concept. Kickstarting it, self-publishing, obviously you get to retain your rights, but you're taking on a lot more work. You are going to be giving some of the work off for signing away rights. The best thing is to understand contracts that you are signing. Creators Assembled, a wonderful charity, puts together some amazing things. They have a video online with the lawyer Jamal Hennessy, who deals in comics. It has a great piece on putting together a contract for your self-published book. Creators Assembled is great on that, and it is not alone. There are other amazing groups, and also you might even be able to access your own lawyer who specializes in publications to look this over. But be cautious. If a publisher offers, it's exciting. It is amazing. But I can tell you firsthand, I've sold the rights to things that have never seen physical print because the publisher didn't work with me. I can also say I've seen friends lose the rights to things they loved. There are classic stories from everyone up there, Brian Polito, Lady Death, who had to fight tooth and nail to get their rights back. So just be aware of the contracts you're signing and make sure they work for what you want and what you're putting out.
In that vein, Comic Books Legal Defense Fund is a good legal group that they're kind of a nonprofit. We did it when I was at Heavy Metal. We raised money for them so that they could help support different creators fighting those challenges. So that's a good one if if you're ever in a bad situation and you need it, that's a good one.
I think one thing that everyone has been talking about so far on the panel, as an answer to all the questions so far, is networking. It's so important. That's why we come to these conventions. That's why we go to the artist alley. That's why we go to the shops. That's why we make all that effort. So if you're not putting yourself out there, then nobody's gonna know you're there. So you need to make sure you're getting, like they said, get that FaceTime, get that networking in, and make sure they know who you are. So when you're ready to pull that trigger, you have that much more leverage to your side.
I mean, speaking of networking, right? I come to WonderCon, I go to Comic-Con, like I buy stuff, I stand against the wall and text on my phone. Like, what more do I really need to do to network in this industry?
Get in their face, dude. No,
Come to panels.
Not violently. No, I just had a situation a couple hours ago where through networking, I met someone who knew Todd McFarlane. And she called him, was like, hey, you're here, come to the booth. And because I had networked with her just enough to be friends with her, Todd comes around and she goes, Todd, let me introduce you to my friend. And so, like I said, you just gotta put yourself out there in a respectful way.
Yes. There's a lot to be said about being earnest, I feel like, in this industry. It's always like some people you can smell the desperation out of them. I feel like that's any industry really that we talk about, but just be yourself. I feel like is one of the most important things. and I hope that you're a likable person. And you know, if you're a fan of somebody, it's cool. Just gonna tell. This is the one industry where I've met a lot of my heroes, and for the most part, they've all been really nice people. And you know, that's a great way to start a conversation. Is maybe support what they're doing, go up to their booth, buy something from them, and tell them, oh, I follow you, and you know, I share all your stuff. And you'd be surprised at how many people have seen you do that. It's really wild. And then yeah, attend events like this, and meet people and show them your work. And the other, just to talk about pitching comics, it used to be, I feel like, an industry standard that you would hear 2 to 5 pages. That's no longer true. They require at least 6 to 10 pages. And better yet, much like Jeromy would say, just finish the product. It's no longer about proof of concept as much as it is about proof of reliability. Like, the people that want to work with you need to be able to rely on you. And sometimes you will fall short. There are deadlines that, I'm not gonna lie, I've missed because something in life happened, but let your team know. So always be open about your communication, and then always just be upfront about what you can do. Because if you're not upfront, when you get slammed and your back's against the wall, and you're just totally in the weeds, you're gonna discover, hey, I'm actually not capable of this. So figure out what your workload that you can handle is, and then work to that, and then try to meet those opportunities and, you know, fulfill them so that people know, hey, I can depend on this guy. Like, I can come back and always make sure he has work. I feel like that's a huge part of like, how I get work. I don't know if Zen feels the same way. I know Zen also. I was like, point out the 2 Zens. This is the most Zen you can get.
So let me
We've got
follow up.
Zen in stereo right
So let me follow up with that with a real world example. So there was a Long Beach Comic Con last year. I went there and I kind of, hesitated on going because it wasn't necessarily the biggest show, like, great show like this. I kind of was like, do I really want to go? But you know what? I was just like, I have to go. I just have to go. You never know, right? So I went up to get an autograph. I wasn't even trying to network with this person. I just went up to get their autograph and was talking to him. And like you say, be yourself. I was just having a normal conversation. And out of the conversation came that, I do production, I do editing, and I didn't force myself on it. He was like, oh, do you have anything to show? And of course, this is the other thing, always have your samples on you. So of course, I had my samples, I gave it to him right then. So he saw it, recommended me to his friend, and I've already started working at that company for the last like 2 months. So if I didn't go to Long Beach, I wouldn't have had this job. So go to the show, be seen, go to the comic shop.
Yeah, you really never know where your opportunities will come from. It's wild.
Yeah.
And on the be nice and be earnest thing, I'm going to steal a quote from a panel I was at earlier. I don't work with assholes. So don't be nice, be earnest, don't be pushy, and people will want to work with you if they get a good vibe from you. If you come off too strong, too heavy-handed, and too, like, you're going to be difficult to work with, they're not going to work with you.
Noted, Jeromy. We're not going to work together. Got it.
Yeah. You are done.
No, I honestly say that is very true, because I can easily give an example. I'm not going to name names, but someone in this room, so I'll just point at them, gave me a comic yesterday, and I went back to the hotel room and read it, and I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. I definitely want to follow this up. But it was the courtesy. I mean, I'm sure there were other people who probably handed me comics at panels and everything that I'll hopefully get to. I will. But that courtesy of being nice sticks in your head. And I cannot stress enough how much being courteous and interacting with everyone, because you also never know where that next project, that next deal, that contract, that plan, that artist or writer is going to come from. And sometimes it will be, I'm looking for something, and I just start sifting through business cards, and I'm like trying to remember, how did I get this card? How do I know this person? What did they do? And the ones that stick out are the people who were nice. I will not lie, sometimes the ones that stick out are the people who are assholes, but they're also a card that goes, why do I still have this?
Yeah. And building on that too is, when you're meeting people and networking, don't go for the hard sell 10 seconds into the conversation. Get to know the person, get to know each other, and then eventually, like with Zen, let it be organic. It's much easier when it's organic, and then they pick up and want to get that info from you. Oh, you're interested in creating. Do you have any samples? Do you have this? Where are you at? It's much easier to do it that way than just be like, yeah, so how do I sell my book to your studio? It's like, the wall is gonna go up immediately. To follow up on the pitch process, beyond the finished pages, you definitely want to have the outline of what your property is going to be. You want to have key selling points, like who's the audience for this book? The key is the more information you give the publisher, the easier you make it for them to say yes. So the finished product is great, but yes, having some finished pages is essential. If they can't see it, if they can't visualize it, it's very hard to get them to say yes on a script alone. But you want to have the outline. You want to have what's called the series Bible. Who are the characters? What's the main story of the first arc? What's the main story in general? And then the key selling points of who is this for? Who are the best people that this book is going to reach? And why should people buy this book? And if you can put all that in a package with the creative team and some pages, at a bare minimum, that's what you're going to need to go to a publisher.
And there are people who will help you do your pitch as well, and I'm gonna name drop somebody who I think is really wonderful and has been doing this for years. It's a man by the name of Joe Elad. A lot of people know Joe through the industry. He's been an editor on Batman. He's been at DC. He's currently on a new project right now. But one of the things he does freelance is he will help you with your pitch. He will help you with your pitch to a comic creator or a publisher. He will help you with going, this is a one sheet, these are my examples, this is my pitch deck. He can help you with that. There are lots of services like that. He's one of the best, I think, but that's because he's my friend. But and he was nice to me, so that's why I name dropped him. That's one of the things that you just have to be prepared for. Going in and being, like Joel said, being prepared and being professional with your pitch.
So, we talked a lot about assholes. I know another name for them is editors. So, Brock, I'm gonna start with you. Any advice for working with editors, and we'll just go down the line with creatives?
With editors, you have to be ready to be told no. You're gonna have ideas as a writer that you think are these brilliant, awesome things because they're your idea. And that's why we have editors who say, hey, here's my cool idea, and they go, that's cool, but get rid of this, add, you know what I mean? So they help you streamline it. That's the most I can think of, really. I mean, that's the base version of it, They're kind of your yes and no man.
I mean, no matter how perfect we create anything, criticism is necessary to take. You can disagree with it, and you can even be 100% right, but there are times you're not going to be, so you need to be open.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend hiring an editor if you guys have a project. You need, well, I shouldn't say you need, but it's good to just have an outside person take a look at it and give you some feedback, because we get so tied up in our projects, we fall in love with our characters and situations that you tend to not necessarily see what might be right there, They might just have a little simple change for you. So definitely a good idea to hire an editor and work with them. That's also a relationship to build up with people. So if you do see editors and you're trying to get work being an artist, you want to know who they are and follow up with them consistently and show them new samples every time that you see them. They might not be able to hire you right away, but if you keep up with them and keep in their sphere and keep sending them samples, the minute they get a project that matches you, you're the one who's going to get the job. So it's kind of up to you, because editors we're so busy with so many things that we can't be on top of everything. So gotta throw it on you to throw it in my face.
On that note, I really quickly do want to point out, because I think that's one of the biggest things entering the industry people often forget, is they just think, oh, editor's just there to, spell check. That is not the case. Editor can often be the person who puts together your team. If you need a letterer, you need a production designer, you need a colorist or an artist, their job is to have that network, that little black book already at the ready. They know the paper quality that needs to be done. They know what printers often to print the books that you need in the format, in the print run. They know pricing. They have all of these things. A good editor has all of these details in their pocket waiting for you. And that is where value of an editor really can come from. Even if you have that perfect project already together, did you figure out where you're gonna print it? Do you know the poundage of paper you want to print it on, what the cover stock is going to be. Editors have a large amount of value to really take into consideration beyond just, oh, you misspelled the letter or the word green on page 23.
Can I see you got a question.
Yeah, so, you mentioned the thing about the editor being like your yes and no man, and like taking the editor's critiques and stuff, and, you know, the whole thing about like, I have this brilliant idea for this book. So what if I am being open-minded to what my editor has to say, but I still think that something that I have put in there needs to be there? How does that affect my relationship with my editor?
I think at that point it's a form of understanding the relationship you have with your editor. If you guys are not on the same page and you can't come to the conclusion of why that is, you know, then you're never gonna figure out how to fix that. For me personally, I'm writing multiple stories, right? And I've had my editor tell me, hey, this might fit in your other story better, this concept or that character, you know what I mean? And that's why they're there. It's like Zen and Mathias said, they're kind of also, they're not just your yes and no man, but they're your fresh eyes on your story. And so they'll help you kind of point and direct you where you kind of need to go to be more successful.
Anyone else want to jump in on it, or? Okay, we're almost out of time, so I want to give all of you enough time to talk about what you're working on now and what everyone needs to know. So, Joel, you want to kick it off? As we're wrapping up here.
As I said, with Magma, we are literally a brand new publisher. Our first book comes out next Wednesday, April 3rd. The Principles of Mentality. Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, brilliant new talent named Eamon Winkle on art. Come to booth 1211. They're signing tomorrow from 12 to 1. We've got another title April 10th, Silicon Bandits. Jason Starr and Dalibor Talajek from Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Blade Runner meets Ocean's 11. So androids go on crime heists. It's a lot of fun. A lot of double and triple cross. And then early May, we've got the Scale Trade, Steve Orlando and Megan Huang. Imagine dragons in the real world and one man's quest to save them, with hybrid dragons as well. So the visuals are amazing. Concept is fun. We'll be putting out new books throughout the year. So magmacomics.com, Magma Comics on all the socials. Booth 1211, you can get free previews. We've got our first book, event variant for $20. Get it signed tomorrow. And yeah, check us out, add us to your social follows, and check out our titles.
Zrock Comics 2 is sort of fresh in the publishing industry, but we do have a big title coming up that we're going to start kickstarting in summer. It's called The Ferryman. It's basically a different take that explores what Charon the Ferryman from Greek life does, more than just ferry the dead from one side of the river Styx to the other. He's a character that goes back to ancient Babylon, and yet we only see him peppered in here and there into history and mythology. So I thought that would be a really fun idea to explore. So make sure you follow Zrock Comics on all your socials. Keep up to date with that. Like I said, we'll be starting it off right after Comic-Con in the summer. So keep an eye out.
There's not a lot I can really talk about what I've got coming out. You can always find my store, Nowhere Games and Comics, KNOWHERE, Games and Comics, down in San Marcos, California. And you can find us on social media at NowhereGC on all social medias. One of the big projects I'm working on right now is I'm one of the judges for the Eisners, so I'm going to be reading 1 billion graphic novels over the next month. And if you make it out to the sister show of WonderCon, San Diego Comic-Con, make sure to check out the Eisners. It is a great award show. It is the Oscars of comics. So you will see some of the best comics there. You'll see some incredible creators get some amazing awards. And regardless of whether or not they win the award, if they're nominated, I can tell you firsthand, they are brilliant. Even some of the many things that unfortunately don't get nominated are brilliant, but check out those things that are nominated because you can really learn from the crafts of what other people have done to reach that point.
Yeah, so right now on Kickstarter, we got Tyler Kirkham's Final Boss #4. There's another week left on the editor letter on that project, so check that out. And coming out in the couple weeks, there'll be another Kickstarter for Zero Goes, a project by Justin Jordan and Brian Ching from 24/7 Comics that I'll be doing the Kickstarter for. And then, of course, once again, to show myself, I need an editor, letterer, producer, designer. I'll have cards on me. Come see me afterwards. I'll leave some up here while we take the pictures. Hit me up, and I'll help you out with your project.
I have a panel right after this in room 210. Not imposter syndrome, so just walk right on over. Or if you want, you can come find me in Artist Alley at E24. Currently, Marvel Upper Decks Midnight Suns is out, and I have boxes of those, and I'm selling packs, as well as packs of WandaVision, which I worked on, and Marvel Anime. I'm probably the only person, maybe stateside, that has a box of those and is selling packs. And then I have a ton of Kickstarter projects on my table, including Cthulhu Invades Neverland, which was nominated for the Ringo for Best Anthology last year. My book Retro had our colorist and our letterer both nominated for the Ringos last year, and our colorist won fan favorite. So come check those out. And my very own comic, Pablo the Gorilla, about an albino cyborg gorilla that delivers pizza and just wants to live his life. The government that created him wants her property back. And he's been hunted by something a little more sinister, working on number 2 of that and some undisclosed projects that I can't talk about. And if you guys, like Zen, need any cover services, I am available for that and for trading cards.
And I'm Jeromy DeChant. I work for Modern Fanatic, which is a full-service agency. Some of the clients that I can talk about, because there's a lot of NDAs, and I put some in front of me so I wouldn't mess this up. I can tell you that The Rider with Dark Horse is currently on pre-order. That's with the Berkowitz brothers and Josh Gad. Those of you who are close to Disney may know Josh Gad as the voice of Olaf. So that is a new comic being put out about mythology. I would highly recommend pre-ordering it. It is very likely, and I, knock on wood, I can't say this officially, probably going to get adapted. So get on that boat early. The other thing I could talk about is Beverages with Bevan. It is a show on Tubi. We do marketing for them as well. We work with Brian Michael Bendis and Ram V, which are comic book creators that you can check out. And the other things I don't think I'm allowed to Battle Quest. We could talk about Battle Quest is out. Those books are great. Everything else I'm not allowed to talk about. So, but you can follow me. You can follow me on social media, which is Jeromy TV, which is Jeromy TV, despite this placard. And you can also follow Modern Fanatic LLC online, and you can check out our website to see the big list of clients that we worked with. We also won an award for what we did with Toys R Us, which I think is pretty neat because I didn't know they gave out marketing awards, but we won a marketing award for our campaign with Toys R Us.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
So, I have nothing to plug because Brock did that already. So yeah, thanks for coming.
Awesome. Please give these amazing people a hand.
I mean, I guess if you want to follow me on my personal social media, it's Yahtzee_Zen on Instagram and Twitter.
I do marketing.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Coming, everybody.
Thank you.